Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's episode and spending some time with me. And I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while, and I don't want it to seem like it's a touchy, sensitive video that is going to divide people, but I want to address the fact that there are a lot more, I mean a lot more people that are keeping and eating and killing bass than what people realize. And I want to get into this today, give you guys my opinion on it, and really be curious to get your guys' feedback on it as well, from just to get a broad perspective of what everybody thinks about this topic. Also guys, just a quick invitation. I want to invite everybody to please consider hitting that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. We're about 3,000, 2,000 or 3,000 short of hitting that 150,000 subscriber mark. That'd be much appreciated. And also guys, I just want to let everybody know, next time you're out and ready to purchase some fishing line, try some of this Seaguar and VizX, guys. I don't want this to sound like a commercial, but guys, I've been using the Seaguar and VizX now for probably 15 years. I absolutely love this stuff. For 95% of my fishing is done with this. I'll put my Seaguar and VizX link in the description and my Tackle Warehouse link in this video here if you guys would like to try a spool. But you guys won't be disappointed. It just sets every property about it is awesome. I absolutely love that. Okay. Now, the reason I wanted to do this, I've been, like I said, thinking about it for a long time. And the first thing that I want to reiterate, because there are some sensitive types out there. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you keep and eat bass. I'm not saying that you don't have a right to do that, any of that stuff. A lot of people, when you bring up this topic, they get very defensive, super defensive, and they, use the things like tournament anglers kill more bass than people eating bass, which I don't know if I believe that or not. But I want you to know that I'm not pointing a finger at you if you're one of the people that do this. My point of this video is I want to bring awareness to this, because we talk a lot here about the sustainability of our bass fisheries on this channel, because excuse me, I'm a big conservationist in terms of leaving our sport better than we found it. We have a responsibility. Every single bass angler out there watching this video, we have a responsibility to the next generation to leave it better than we found it. And when you talk about terms of keeping and eating bass or killing them in tournaments with delayed mortality, that's something we need to discuss, and we need to figure out the best path moving forward to that. Okay, now given that, let's get into this, why I want to do this video. One of the things about my channel here is I feel that it offers a really good microcosm of everything that's going on in the bass fishing world. And one of the reoccurring comments that I get anytime that I bring up like bass mortality or something like that, or talk about this topic, I get a lot of viewers and a lot of subscribers that they want me to know that they do keep and eat bass. And I've noticed this trend more and more over the past couple of years about people that are keeping and eating bass. And this is something that you didn't hear a lot, really like, 10 to 30 years ago, because there was a huge portion of the bass fishing community out there that practiced catch and release all the time. They did all the time. People just did not keep bass that much. If they wanted to eat fish, they went out and caught some crappie or catfish or white bass or walleye or pike or whatever your lake had. But most people, they enjoyed the act of actually catching the fish and seeing that fish jump and putting that fish back in the water to release it to fight again another day. There has been a change. I can tell you this from my own observation of the channel here and my own observation of going to the lakes, about people that feel that they want to keep bass now. And I think a lot of this could be, our groceries are higher than they've ever been right now, and it's more expensive to go fishing. So what I see a lot is that people, when they go bass fishing, just to say a recreational angler or whatever, tackle is so expensive. It's expensive to put gas in your boat. Boats are expensive. And they feel like they've got to justify spending money to go bass fishing by bringing fish home to eat. So that's why a lot of people keep and eat bass. And down at Table Rock Lake, guys, anytime from about April until September, you can go down to a lot of the boat ramps, especially the smaller boat ramps, and you'll see 10 or 15 largemouth bass, spotted bass carcasses that have been filleted out and they got thrown back in right by the ramp there. people night fishing. Most people that night fish keep and eat the bass they catch, and they do a lot of fishing at night because bass fishing is easier. The fish are up shallow, they're easier to catch. Larger fish are up shallow, so there's more and more bass anglers fishing at night that are keeping and eating those bass. But overall, I think that there's been a shift in this attitude about catch and release to think that, we're going to keep fish because groceries are so expensive right now and it's so expensive to go fishing that I'm going to keep bass to justify, doing this, to bring something back. I think that's the primary motivator with that. Okay, now here's the problem we have. This is the problem we have to address. Conservation departments, in my opinion, drag their feet big time. And they don't see the details and the reality of the health of a lake. Because one of the things I've noticed about, fisheries biologists and wildlife conservation people like that is they may have a lot of schoolroom education, but they don't have a lot of practical world education in terms of the quality of the talent catching fish and the pressure that is put on the fish through electronic technology like the forward-facing sonar, live scope, the increase in the overall talent level of anglers because of YouTube. They're learning more about it. They have better equipment. So therefore, not only there are more bass anglers fishing for fish than they have right now ever before, they're better at it. And that is one of the reasons why I am critical of most fisheries managers in the country is they don't understand that aspect of it. And they're not tournament anglers themselves, and they can't really see the reality of it. And they don't spend as much time as guys like myself or other people do on the lake seeing all the stuff that I'm talking about. So I think that fisheries managers in general are way too liberal when it comes to creel limits, way too liberal when it comes to the apathy they have on catch and release, all that type of stuff. I have never, if you talk to me guys, I think this whole thing about harvesting bass to maintain the health of the fishery is complete bullshit. I have fished enough lakes that have not seen a lure in 20 years where you go there and catch hogs freaking every cast to know that if you have sustainable habitat, if you've got a diversity of habitat and you've got a strong forage base, you don't need to take any bass out of the lake. The natural cycle will do that. All the loons and the blue herrings and the otters and the other predation from other fish, that balances that system. We don't, since when has it been since the last 20 or 30 years that all of a sudden largemouth bass that have been here for 3 million years on this planet all of a sudden need human being bass fishermen to manage the fisheries to make them healthy? I don't buy into that at all. So here's the thing that we have to realize. Here's the reality of it. This is not 1950 anymore. This is not 1960 anymore. We have a situation in this country where our lakes are overfished. We have so many people bass fishing. We have so many people that know how to bass fish, and the pressure on our fisheries are more intense than they'd ever been. And here's one of the things that I think a lot of people that try to justify keeping and catching and eating bass don't realize is that we have a finite amount of fish in these lakes, and we have an ever-growing number of anglers in this that are fishing for these finite number of fish out there. And we have reached this precipice right now where we have to balance the reality of this fishing pressure and the finite number of bass with what you call your so-called rights to keep and eat bass. And this is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people because there's a lot of people out there that I have met that are bass eaters, that keep and eat bass, that it's all about their personal freedoms and rights, and they don't think anybody should infringe. If they want to keep and eat a bass, they don't want anybody to tell them any different. I understand that train of thought. I do. But here's the difference between that. We've come to a point where if everybody thinks that, if everybody out there feels the same way, that by God, they're going to keep their fish if they catch them, and there's more and more people fishing, and they're getting better and better and better at fishing, that's unsustainable. It doesn't take a genius to know that the more people that keep and eat bass, and the more people that get better at catching bass, and the more people that have this attitude that it costs money to go fishing, so they're going to keep bass, it's not like these fish just grow on trees just right and left. So when you have a combination of people that are keeping and eating bass, and you have a combination of delayed mortality that is created by tournaments, that is why you see bass fishing in the United States so tough right now. And there's the thing that I'm really concerned about is that there's this illusion going on. I've talked about this before within the tournament world, because we see 30-pound bags are common now. We see big bags of fish. These fish are taken with the use of live scope and spotlighting for bass. That does not equate into the reality of the health of the fishery when you use this type of offshore artificial technology. The fishery quality that can be indicative on any lake is the population of fish that use traditional shoreline targets in water less than 10 feet deep. Those were the fish that everybody targeted forever, and those fish are not there. Those fish have been decimated. Anyone can tell you that. If you're a bass angler and you don't use forward-facing sonar and you use traditional bass fishing techniques and you fish for 20 or 30 years, there's not a single dude out there that can tell me that fishing's better now than it's ever been, because it's not. And this is a result of the combination of more and more people keeping eating bass, more and more people, killing bass from delayed mortality. It's a combination of both of those. But the difference between keeping and eating bass to eat, keeping and eating and killing bass versus a tournament situation is the people that are keeping and eating the bass, when those fish are caught, they got a 0 chance of returning alive to the water and surviving. At least there is a percentage of bass out there that are caught in tournaments that are going to survive and reproduce, and so you can't equate tournament fishing to the people that are eating the bass. So what's the solution to this is what we have to acknowledge here. There's a couple different things that we can do. Number one, I'm a big proponent for building more lakes, even like 50, 100-acre lakes around the country to have more water for people to fish. And those fisheries have got to be managed as such. Number two with that is we can encourage people to keep and eat more prolific fish. There is a lot better fish out there to eat than bass. And a lot of people seem to think it's okay to keep spotted bass. It's not, guys, because I can tell you from somebody that has fished Table Rock Lake for 50 years, and a lot of people will keep and eat the spotted bass there. The spotted bass fishery at Table Rock Lake sucks now. Anyone will tell you that. The big spots are not there like they used to. So, that's another aspect of it. The other deal with that is we simply have to, encourage people just to face the reality of the situation. And like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow. When you try to tell somebody that you're not going to be allowed to keep and eat these fish, they get mad about it. They do, but you have to come at it at the point of view. It's like, it's not about you. It's not about you catching your limit of bass and frying them up at the home that night. It's about what the next generation is going to have. How would you feel if you go out and just, every time you go to the lake, you catch a limit of fish and you keep and eat them, and then there's thousands and thousands and thousands of other people doing the same thing, and then all of a sudden, 50 years from now, your grandchildren don't have crap to fish for because of the way that we behaved, in this particular situation. So it's not, there's nothing easy about it. And the only thing, like I said, that we can do about it is we have to manage the fisheries in a lot more, strict manner. And that has to do with, we need more enforcement out there. We need more game wardens checking people for fish. We need a little bit more awareness on like slot limits for bass. We need to reduce the creel limits of bass, and possibly we need to put some type of a deal where if you keep and catch a lot of bass, there's some type of you're responsible for some type of an extra license to do that. Because here in Missouri, it costs, I think it's $12 for a resident fishing license. So for $12, if I wanted to, I could go down to Table Rock Lake with a can of night crawlers or live crawdads, and I could catch, a limit of bass 365 days a year. So I could catch thousands and thousands of mature egg laying bass and flay them out every single day for $12. So if you had some type of a deal where, if you had to pay or had to, whatever, figure something out to where the people that are really consuming a ton of these bass and consuming more of the resource than most anglers, they have to pay some type of a different fee on it. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there with that. But my main concern, my concern is not about people's right to keep and eat bass. My concern is about the future of the sport, the sustainability of the sport. That's why I'm always adamant against forward-facing sonar and the things that threaten it. But from thinking about this, and like I said, you guys hear me talking about a lot about the deterioration of the quality of our fisheries in the country right now. I believe it's a direct correlation between an increased number of people that are keeping and eating mature bass and delayed mortality from tournaments. And until we face that situation, and until we put our egos and our attitudes aside and look at it without getting all puffed up and address the situation for what it is, it's never going to get any better. But there's so many people in this country right now, from what I've seen, that if you tell them that, and there are going to be people pissed off at this video, if you tell them that, no, you can't go out and keep these many bass every single day, they're going to get freaking pissed because they think it's an infringement on their right as an angler. And we have to educate the population and the bass fishing public to think beyond that, to think beyond yourself, and to think into that next generation. And that's not easy to do a lot. We see that big time with politics and environmental issues. It's the same thing. You have people that are so short-sighted, and they will deregulate environmental protection laws so certain people can profit more and make more profit at the expense of the future generation, what type of environment they're going to have. It's the same deal with this topic we're talking about with the bass. So anyway, guys, shoot me your comments. Let me know what y'all think about it, and we'll check in later.